Um, and we were hoping that you could introduce yourself and kind of speak about where you work and what your role is.
Okay. My name is Michelle Holtman, and I'm a program manager at Microsoft. And I work in ASG, which is the Application Services Group. We are the home of Bing, Skype, Office, and various other things. I work under Julie Larson Green, who is our Chief Experience Officer. And what our team looks at is trying to unify experiences across all of the ASG applications. I've worked all sorts of different places at Microsoft, including devices. I've worked on Windows. I've worked on the phone. And I just love tech and feel very fortunate to be here.
Great, thank you. Whitney?
Sure. I'm Whitney. I'm a DFX engineer, which means Design for X, and we look at all of the hardware products before they go into any phase of manufacturing. I work in a part of Microsoft called MSC, which is Manufacturing and Supply Chain. And so I go to China a lot and work on the line. I'm on the SMT side, which means the surface mount technology side. So I work on the actual bare boards and how components are put on them and what kind of processes we use for that. So for special components and so yeah, it's interesting. I get to see all of the hardware that goes through Microsoft, but I'm mostly working on Surface.
Great. Okay, so as our first question, what is your, and Helen's joining us now.
Hi everyone, my name's Helen. I'm a co-director of She++. Glad to be here.
Hi, Helen.
Great, so as our first question, what is your experience or opinion about diversity within the tech industry?
Well, hopefully all of the people that are interested in joining the tech field will help that. When I got into tech, there wasn't a lot of women. There was even fewer women than there are today. And I think it's really critical, not just from a gender diversity point of view, but just women see things differently. And it helps us create better products if we have a rounded workforce. I think sometimes there's a barrier to women thinking it's going to be a fun career or a great career. I think sometimes things pop through your mind like, how will I make friends if the vast majority of the people I work with are guys? You're accepted. I mean, my guy friends are just like my normal girlfriend BFFs. I would never trade the choice of being in tech. I've been in it for the last 24 or 5 years, and this is the future. The gals that want to go into it, you've got to do it because it's the best career you could ever have. You can think of something, come to work, and you can make it happen, and you can see it in hands of millions and millions of people. Just do it. Help be part of the solution, and it's by taking the risk of coming in and joining us. Join Whitney and I.
Yeah. I would have to agree. I think I'm new, so I just finished my first year in at Microsoft, but in school I was like one of 4 girls, and so I got used to this whole being in the gender minority, and I think sometimes it's a strength. Sometimes people will listen to us more if we speak up. And a lot of times at Microsoft especially, it's very inclusive. I've never had a problem speaking my mind or telling people what I think about any part of the design. So I think if you have the strength to stand up and say something, people will listen to you no matter what your gender is.
Okay, great. So I guess going back a little bit, what influenced your original decision to choose computer science to study?
So for me, I initially thought I wanted to be a high school teacher. And one of my guy BFFs at school was like, hey, you should come take this programming class with me as one of your electives. I think you would like it. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I could do that. And I took it, and I kind of fell in love. And I never, this wasn't what I set out to do, but it turned out to be just such a blessing in disguise. It's awesome. So it wasn't something that I had planned, but I just fell in love with the idea of being able to have an idea and actually create something on my own. I just like it.
My whole family is actually in tech. My dad's an electrical engineer. My cousin has a PhD in computer science. And so tech was always something that I had seen, and it looked very interesting, and I wanted to go into something where I could make something with my hands and use my brain and have fun doing it. So, yeah.
Okay, great. So I guess next question is, what would you tell your high school self?
For me, I would have probably told myself to not doubt the good ideas that I have and to speak up more often. I think if I had learned that earlier in my career, to ask for what I want to work on and say, I've got this idea, I want to go do it, your managers and your employers, they want you to do that, and they will encourage you and let you do it. I think early in my career, I thought, oh, if I just work really hard, I'll be able to work on, X, Y, and Z. But if I didn't tell anybody that I was interested in that, how would they know? And so I've learned just to ask for what I want, and it's okay to work on things and it not turn out the way that you had planned. You actually probably learn more from the things that go wrong than when everything goes right. And my motto would be just speak up early. It's okay, because people want to hear you. They want to help you, but if you don't say anything, they don't know how to make sure you have the opportunities that you want.
For me, I think it's do more science. In my high school was a liberal, very college prep school, and we did a lot of liberal arts, and I'm good at writing, but I wish I'd done way more science in high school. I wish I would have taken advantage of more of the opportunities I had there, but I could have started earlier. But I don't think that I suffered because I didn't start earlier. I just think I would have appreciated it more later if I had.
So we know computer science is broadly applicable to a number of different industries, so why did you guys choose the tech industry?
So for me, since I've been in the industry for a little while, I started in the tech industry during the dot-com boom. And I knew that there was potential in this magical thing called the World Wide Web. And how do we get all these computers talking to each other so that we can do things? And I wanted to be part of that. And so that, for me, was really fun. I worked at a small company in Seattle. It was called Spry. And we made the first commercially available internet browsing suite. So that when you're sitting there, you're using Google Chrome or Internet Explorer, we were way before that. And we had a web browser, and we were allowing people to surf the web through dial-up internet providers. And it was magical to get to watch it change and to see people like my parents using computers and having access to that information at the tip of your fingers. Tech, go math, go science, and do tech. I love it.
For me, I wanted to work on things that were noticeable that other people would actually use, and so I thought about medical, I thought about like NASA. It's this particular like consumer electronics that is so fast-paced, so interesting. There's so much going on, and you can do things that those other industries really can't do because it's so fast-paced here.
And how did you guys choose what to specialize in?
I just kind of picked things that I was interested in. I think that if you work on things that you think are interesting, you're going to do well. So I've worked on all sorts of things, from web browsing to entertainment search on Xbox. I've worked on binary anti-tampering and anti-piracy technologies. So it spans the gamut. It was like whatever I was interested in at the moment, I was like, I want to work on that. And I would just go, join a team or join a company that did what I was interested in and just have fun. And it's okay to try things. And if you hit something and you're like, I really don't love this, try something else.
I agree. You're never locked into something if you pick it. You can think about specializing now, but you don't have to. It doesn't have to be the end. You know what I mean? You can always pick something else later, and I think that actually changing up what you're doing is really good, and it looks really good when you're looking for other jobs or new things to do.
Yeah, and when you go work at startups, you need to be able to adjust and wear many, many hats. The nice thing, I never thought I would want to work at like a big company like Microsoft long term because I felt like, oh, it would be like working at the post office or something. But it's not. Each little team it's like its own little startup, and you're working on something different. And that's what makes it fun. And every team has a personality, and you can go try things and kind of reinvent yourself each role you take. And so definitely don't lock yourself into one thing, because I think it's very desirable to teams and employers that you can be adaptable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm sorry about going in and out here. We're having a little issues, but I think everything is sorted out. Thank you for all your thoughtful responses so far. I'm going to jump in and ask you, talking about all these different teams you've worked for, tell us about a couple of your favorites and why you enjoyed working with them.
A couple of my favorites would have been when I worked on entertainment search on Xbox, getting to look at things from a different demographic, building things for gamers, but trying to expand into other things like TV and movies. It was really interesting to try to make compelling scenarios for that. And I wasn't in the target demographic. I'm not in the 18 to 35-year-old male. So it was really nice to bring a different perspective to the table and say, oh, well, have you guys thought about this? I think this would be fun. This would appeal to a wide range of people. The other thing that I really had fun working on was a device that never shipped, but the process of dreaming up the idea with your team and dreaming up what software scenarios would be on this device and trying to make a go of it. And I learned so much. Even though we didn't ship it, I would never trade the experience. Because it was just really a lot of fun making things together, with software and the hardware developers. It was amazing.
Anything you want to share for your favorite team, Whitney?
Well, since I've just started, I really just worked on this team, but I think that I'm really enjoying what I'm doing right now. It's different than what I ever thought, but it's really interesting to see how things are actually made and what goes into that and how many people it really takes to make a product like Surface launch. It is hundreds and hundreds of people. It looks so nice and simple, but it's really just a lot of people working late nights, flying overseas to China every other month, and just working really hard. It's really interesting to see how much goes behind just one computer. So,
do you want to tell us a little bit about what it's like to travel to China often to work?
It's fun, and it's also hard. It's tiring, and it's long nights. It's a little bit emotional because you're away from your family, but it's fun though. You're on the front lines when you're in China. You're seeing how the very small things are made. You're watching the teams bring up boards the first time. It's so fun to see that process and see things actually coming together after months of staring at a computer screen and looking at designs and looking at code, and just doesn't seem like anything at that point, but then you go to China and you see it come up, and it starts up Windows, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. You know, it's this little board, and Windows is running on it. Like, amazing. I don't know.
Okay, so our next question is, what do you think is the most important non-technical skill a computer scientist should have?
Interpersonal skills. You need and the ability to empathize. I think you need to be able to put yourself in someone else's shoes and understand your customer that you're designing for. I think a lot of times in tech we fall into the trap of designing for what we as a technologist want to build it. Oh, this would be so cool if I built it. But we're the only ones that want it. We really need to think about the target consumer, and so you need to be able to empathize even if you're not in the demographic that a particular product or service is targeting. I think those would be the two.
For me, what's really helped me is the same, kind of the interpersonal, but also being able to write well, for
Yes.
me, has been so good. Um, I did an honors program at my college, and it was a lot of writing, and it was horrible at the time, but it really, really helped me, and it really helps me now to be able to express my thoughts concisely and be able to write emails that other people can read and understand. It's just been a good skill for me personally.
About that. So we asked you earlier about your experience as a high schooler and sort of how your interests have changed and how much you've learned since then. So as you know, we have a lot of Pound Include Fellowship members in the C++ community, and they're working on an initiative in their own communities to sort of spread more participation in tech and teach their communities. So thinking back as a high schooler, you know, what would you have wanted to do at that age if you could make a difference in your community?
Oh boy.
It's a tough question.
It is. I think for me, maybe helping bring tech, because again, I'm a little bit older. I hate even saying that, but bringing tech to people that just didn't have the resources, because not everybody can afford the same thing, and helping kids that maybe come from underprivileged homes be exposed to tech and have the same opportunity as everybody else. Because sometimes kids don't have a parent, one or two parents at home that can devote the time to show them and teach them how to responsibly use tech.
I agree.
I think that's a really interesting thing about technology is that it can be, so self-propagating in its purposes, right? We can learn about technology to design technology to help other people learn about technology. Have you guys been involved in any development of any technology that's been, used to serve a sort of social good that you're passionate about?
I haven't. Except for, when we worked on the internet browsing suite, because I think that bringing tech to you is great, but most of the tech that I've worked on has been either consumer-facing tech meant to be sold or tech designed to protect a company's intellectual property from being pirated. But the time is still young, and so who knows what I'll work on next.
Cool. So another question we have is, looking at the tech industry going forward, what do you see as the future of tech?
Well, I think definitely wearable technology is going to be the future. I think a different new user interface. design is something to, keep in mind. How are people going to interact with technology of the future? Will it be with your voice? Will it be through something else? Will we have chips embedded? Who knows? I think that the technology is changing, and so we definitely, there's a lot of opportunity ahead.
I think it'll be more pervasive. You'll see it in your house. It'll be, I have a Nest thermostat, which basically tells when you're home and turns on your heat when you're home and turns it off when you're gone. And I think there's going to be a lot more of that kind of technology that makes your life easier at home, makes it so you don't have to think about saving energy or being more accessible to those who can't do things by themselves. I think that having a smart home is really going to be the push of the future. I think it'll take a while. I think wearables will probably come before that, but I think wearables will be kind of a lead-in to having it more in your house, having your house smart.
Yeah, I agree with that as far as wearables leading into the smart home and it knowing you based upon, yeah, and I love my Nest also. Just for those things. It knows when you're home and it can turn the heat up and it does help you save energy and it works. Yeah. And it's beautiful. And so there's a lot of nice aspects to it.
So I guess jumping off of that, what do you guys think we have to be cautious about going forward?
Potentially privacy and identity theft. How do we make sure that that's if we're constantly wearing some device that's beaconing, if you will, who I am when I walk into an office or my home? How do we make sure that that's protected so that somebody can't take your identity? And so I think that that's a message too to the younger people that have grown up with tech just being there always. Be careful about what you post. And I know that it may seem innocent to post certain things, but people can really peel back and do some analysis on that and find out a lot about you, and it can be used in ways to hurt you. And so I think that it's that double-edged sword. I mean, I want tech to advance so fast and to make it easy for me, but I'm also very aware that what happens if your identity is stolen, the nightmare that you have to go through to try to fix that. And so those are some things that hopefully some of you young girls that are involved in tech, how do we solve that? How do we, allow an open tech environment, but also what kind of protections can we build? What kind of encryption can we do? There's a lot of great things that can be solved with math and science there.
I agree. I think privacy and security are going to be the most important things to look for, especially in like a home. I read an article the other day about a home, someone turning on your blender or someone turning on your stereo and someone outside. And so I think that it's true. It sounds funny, but I think it's very true. I think that people, when you have something that's connected to everything and that's what's going to happen, you're going to have the Internet of Things, and things are going to be connected to the Internet, and you need to know what's real, what's not, how do you differentiate, and yeah.
So on a more positive note, I guess, what has been the coolest piece of technology that you've been able to work with or get your hands on or hack on?
Some of the coolest things that I've seen and things that members of my team have contributed to would be things like HoloLens, and there's a whole bunch of innovation at companies that they can't share. And I think that's what I wish people could see. Like, especially inside Microsoft, there are so many cool things that we see that I wish we could publicly talk about way in advance. But it just almost makes you just weep with joy because of the coolness. You're like, oh my God, that is so cool.
Can you say anything about HoloLens?
It is awesome. Oh my God, if you get a chance to, oh yeah, if you get to wear it someday.
Tell us a little bit more about it for those of us listening who
it's so it's an immersive experience. It just, you can put it on and feel like you're walking on Mars. I mean, it's amazing. It's not just augmented reality. It's a step beyond that. And I think that's what's amazing, and the people that worked on it are just incredible.
Mm-hmm.
So, Whitney,
Yeah.
what's been something really cool that you've been able to work with?
I think HoloLens is definitely up there. I think I'm working with that team now, and they're just so smart. It's everyone here is just so smart. I'm just amazed by it every day. But I loved working on Surface 3. It's a great product. It's not as, I guess, sexy as the HoloLens, but it is like a very sleek, beautiful tablet, computer, laptop that it really just fits all of my needs every day. I think it's one of my favorite products that we've ever made. I also worked on a little bit on the new Connect, and just the technology that goes into the Connect 3D imaging is really impressive. And it does so much. And I don't know if you've ever seen the Connect for Windows, or what people make for it. It's just incredible what people can do with just the technology that we released. I think it's really great. If you've never had a chance to like play with the SDK for that, I think that's a really great tool for people who want to start hacking, I guess.
Yeah, Whitney, I think that's a really great point. I think the Connect for Windows SDK is a really great thing, and Connect itself is not terribly expensive to where it's not out of reach for someone to buy and start playing with some things. It is an amazing piece of technology.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you guys have any advice for, I guess, high school students that are just starting out with coding and technology?
Don't be afraid to try things, and ask for help. Buddy coding, sometimes helps because maybe one of your friends will grasp a concept faster than you. Watch videos. There's tutorials, and things like this. I mean, I think it's great that girls are interested, and I wish that I had known about this type of program like years ago, and I wish that I was down closer to some of the schools, because I would love to have spent time with people that are interested in tech and to try to help. But don't be afraid to reach out and just try things. It's easier than you think. Sometimes you think you can't do it, but you can. Don't doubt yourself.
I agree. There's so much you can learn by yourself before you even have to go to a class. There's a lot online. There's a lot of resources available. You can take free lectures from MIT if you want to. There's podcasts everywhere about coding. I think that it's accessible to anyone who has a computer and the internet, and you just have to try, and you can't mess it up. Just don't even worry about that.
Exactly.
Just try anything. Just experiment. I don't think that, yeah, like I said, you really can't mess it up. I mean, you can, but not badly. So just try it. I think try anything.
Tell us about when you messed something up, but it was okay. Maybe not okay.
I think, for me, I think making mistakes is good, because you do learn how to do things better. I think the biggest things that I've messed up are when you develop some tech, you come up with this plan to release this tech, and you think that this plan is just, oh, this is going to be awesome, and we'll ship this as an update to Windows, and it's going to be great. And then something backfires because you didn't anticipate maybe some older computer getting the update or some strange corner case, and it causes all sorts of ripple effects. And if you haven't thought through all those corner cases, it can be a little bit stressful when you're trying to figure out, oh, how do I get out of this? Because it seems, insurmountable. But you can get through really anything. I think, like what Whitney said, making tech mistakes. That's, at the end of the day, it's just software. So
Yeah.
And we like to joke around. It's like, it's just typing. It's okay. It's just typing. You can work through anything. A lot of the times, the biggest problems are when you miscalculate on a business reason for shipping something, and it backfires.
Mhm. When did I mess up? I don't know if I can think of a very particular time, but I know, and because I can't think of a particular time, I know it wasn't fatal. Like, there's nothing that happened that I've ever messed up on, and I'm sure I've messed up a lot of times, believe me. But I don't think that it was ever irreversible. And I work more on the hardware side, and that's more like locked in, but I think still, even if you mess up on hardware, it's not the end of the world. We don't just build one and we're done. We have iterations and things get fixed and other people review and I think we have a really good structure for you're not in a vacuum. You're never going to just create something and send it off. It's going to be people are going to look at it and people are going to make sure that it's okay. And I think that's actually really good. You learn a lot from that process too.
Yeah, and I think, Whitney, what you're saying, that in hardware it's way different.
Yeah.
Because they create tooling and they're trying to manufacture something. The beautiful thing about software is you can update it, like on the
Yeah.
search service, like at Bing or at Google. They can roll updates on demand. If they need to, they're flighting technology, trying it, or if something goes wrong, we can fix it and we can have it deployed in minutes. So it's a big difference. So no one is knock on wood, because we're not building that kind of software right now. But no one is dying. It's just software. You can fix it. And yes, there are software, like avionics, etc., that it's way different. But you've got tests and you've got other people who are going to review your stuff. So it's okay.
So we
Yeah.
definitely wanted to keep it at 4:45, even though we were having technical difficulties. We know that you guys have obligations, but we really want to thank you so much for being so patient and chatting with us, and we really appreciate it and hope our participants get a lot out of it. But just thank you from the whole She++ team for taking time out of your day to chat with us.
Well, thank you for inviting us.
Yeah. Well, have a good day.
See you guys too.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.